biggest thing most parents, coaches want to know, kids, is when can you get back in the game? Yeah, that's a good thing I think about going to a sports medicine practice who understand athletes is, mine, probably Dr. Marascalco, our goal is to get them back as soon as we can, safely. And there's different things that we can do to help that along. I know personally the awareness out there is gone up exponentially. When I was growing up, you got a headache and you went back in. Nowadays it's much stricter, and people are more aware. And I've actually seen a decrease in a lot of contact sports, especially football, and a lot more kids are going into baseball, lacrosse. So, I've seen, and most parents, you ask them why, it's because of the concussion. They're telling their kids 7, 8, 9 years old, they're kind of steering them away from football. Again, this is older thinking here. It probably wouldn't happen today. Coaches, athletic directors, trainers, a lot more aware of concussion and how to manage these a lot safer. Again, with concussion management, you've hit over most of it, and I'll go over some of the return to play, but essentially it's a gradual increase to getting back, and it generally takes a 5 to 7 day process. If you're officially diagnosed, if you've been hit in a game and you have a headache, that's a concussion typically. It could be, and there's a wide spectrum of severity of concussions, obviously. But typically, you want to take every athlete through this process to get them back on the field. Obviously, no sports. Don't let them play video games at all. When I covered a college, a lot of times we would take them out of classes and they would just sit in the room. Some of the coaches would make them go to a dark room and sit there. Anything dealing with your brain, we used to call it brain rest. Most of these will take 5 to 7 days. The biggest thing I used to see, if it's a severe enough concussion, you would see a cognitive, they would be effective in school, in classes. You would read something and they couldn't remember what they read. And this was like their second or third concussion, and their grades plummeted. And physical therapists, they're good at getting kids back to play, but most of these kids don't go to a physical therapist. They're not managed after they are injured. One of the biggest factors, they said, returning activity was actually just, there's simple tests that you can do, and one was a balance test. It's amazing how much a concussion can affect balance. Over a process, you typically start them after, if somebody's hit in a game, the next day, if they're still having a headache, you don't put them through anything. You wait till the headache goes away. Once the headache goes away, you take them through fast walking, light jogging, and that's one day. If they get a headache on that one day, you start back to square one. You don't do anything for a day. Then the next day, you start back, and if they pass the light walking, jogging, you take them to the next day. And that's maybe light running, maybe sport-specific drills, things like that. If they get a headache during that, you go back to square one. So anytime an athlete gets a headache while you're going through this 3-5 day process, if they get a headache, you take them back to the beginning. A lot of these schools now, I know Hanover, I'm sure most schools now, they do the impact testing. There's several different programs out there. The best way to do these tests is to have them tested in the summer before they start actually hitting. You get a baseline test, and then when they're hit, you do the test then you can really see the difference. Virginia Tech actually compared, I think it was 12 to 14 helmets. They did studies where they put sensors in, and they put them on crash dummies. They put them through a 12-mile-per-hour test and kind of ranked these helmets. The problem is most helmets are designed to prevent skull fractures. They're very good at preventing skull fractures, 70 to 80% reduction in skull fractures if you have a helmet, obviously. They're good at preventing brain bruising. The one thing that helmets fail on is the rotational force. That's where most concussions occur. It's not from a linear force, it's for a rotational force. And that's where the helmets only protect you about 20% of that. So there are a lot more studies with helmets. There are some helmets that are better than others. The best resource you can have, trainers, physical therapists, we can all help get people back safely, and that's the goal here. So thank you.